welcome back. My name is Matthew Diabate. This is Kill the Cat Radio's Sharp Teeth, episode 14. Hope everybody's having a wonderful week thus far. This fine episode is titled Law and Order. Dun dun. We should get that like sound from the TV show, Law and Order. That's why I dressed up in my, what I would call my degenerate gambler Atlantic City frumpled look today with a little button-up shirt here. This is my gambling, just put everything in the house on black. Put the house on red. Spin that roulette table around. No, this episode's called Law and Order. We're going to discuss certain philosophies about the law. We're going to discuss certain philosophies about order. It's an overused term in modern culture, usually used by the conservatives, usually hated by the liberals. Some people think it's a Republican idea. Some people think if you're from the left, we should abolish the police. We're going to get into all of that here on this episode today. As you can see, nothing really has changed here in the studio. We've got the guitar over here. Dan Electro's still kicking around. We've got our book of the week, Hitch 22 by Christopher Hitchens. This is his memoir before he died. Christopher Hitchens being one of the people who I give complete credit to my intellectual rebirth. When I started watching a lot of his YouTube videos, he was so intellectual, I could barely keep up. At the time, I think I was smoking something and maybe drinking too much, and just my brain had been shattered from the years of the bar world. And after paying attention to this guy for some time, it really made me want to elevate not only the way I speak, but also the way I interpret information, and to really kind of expand my mind and clear out all the gunk that had gathered. We've got the weird statue over here. We have our fantastic hat here, the Henry Miller hat. It is not the Death's hat, as some people have said. It is the Henry Miller hat. Henry Miller, one of the greatest writers of the 20th century. But to continue with our show, as I say, we have our 90s clipboard is still in action. As you can see, totally typed up, very professional. And we still have 47 subscribers. Thank you all for returning. If you have not subscribed already, please subscribe below. Hit that like button as well. Got 1,700 hours watched already since we started. That's not so bad. We started 2 months ago. We're on episode 14. We're going to record episode 15 as well today, so we are just nonstop action over here. Nonstop action. This is the Law and Order episode. Kill the Cat Radio's Sharp Teeth. Okay, so point number one. I've been seeing a lot in the news as of late that's caused me pause. I'm a little concerned with the amount of looting, rioting, and all manner of decrepit behavior of our young modern citizens of our time. Now, I understand, like during COVID, when things were getting a little wild, crime was out of control. I was living here in New York City. I was one of the few people who didn't leave. We will judge you, those who did now have returned, acting like normal. We had to live it. This place was crazy. It was like Mad Max out there on the streets. I learned to carry weapons. It was scary to just even go to the bank or do anything out there. Go to the grocery store. Crime was rampant. And then during what we call the Summer of Love, when everybody was burning everything down and the news media was saying it was mostly peaceful protests, right? Mostly peaceful. You know, when the stores were burning behind them. We saw most of the nation absolutely go batshit crazy, start burning things down, looting. If you go to any Duane Reade or Walgreens or CVS, you can see for yourself. Even lotion is locked up right now. You need to actually get an attendant to somehow let you in to the lotion section of the pharmacy that you're going to. Back in the days, you had to guard against people stealing drugs like narcotics and other things. Okay, that makes sense. Or maybe they had to guard against hair products or things that were really expensive or birth control or anything like that. Now, if you want like a little tub of lotion just for your hands, like a hand sanitizer thing, it's locked down. What is going on here? Just Google for me. Just do this for me. Google local recent riots. Okay, you'll see it in Chicago. You'll see it in New York City. You'll see it in San Francisco. You'll see it in Los Angeles. You'll see it in New Orleans. You'll see it in every major city in America. What's going on here? People are just going in and just taking shit. I even heard in some places in California that you're allowed to steal under a certain amount, a dollar amount. You're allowed to steal under a certain dollar amount. You can take it and they can't stop you, or they won't stop you. One of these things. How crazy is that? No wonder Americans are freaking out. No wonder why they're all buying guns. No wonder why people are getting shot through doorways or shot going into the wrong driveways. People are freaked the fuck out. They're freaked out. They're scared. They're afraid, especially if you're old. Like someone like me, you break into my apartment, you're going to leave a cripple. I almost kind of want you to come in so I could use my hammers and the assortment of other weapons I have around this house. I have a lot of blunt instruments. So yeah, people are freaked out. Look at the news. Just Google this stuff. In every major city, even in some small cities, people are scared because they're seeing this stuff promoted by the media of these kids and sometimes adults going into bodegas, going into grocery stores, going into Walmarts, totally looting the place. Everything is absolutely out of control. And my question is, why? What happened here? What happened? What was the change? Now, look, we all know in the news why this started happening. Okay, let's not kid ourselves here. After the George Floyd things that went down, after a lot of police brutality videos surfaced online, some accurate, some not so accurate, people started to get fed up. And of course, what's happening at this time? You've got COVID. You've got people who are unemployed. You got people who don't even know if they're going to have a job in the future. There's distress in the nation. So what's the first people they blame for all this stuff? The cops. They're like, fuck the police. Like back in the 90s. Fuck the police. Hey, man, I'm not down with police brutality. Who is? Nobody likes to see this stuff. You know, it's like going back to when I was a kid. My mother always raised me properly. She said, if you ever get around a police officer, number one, always say, yes, officer, no, officer, thank you, officer. All right. Just always have that kind of respect, even if they're being total dicks. And in my small town where I was going to high school when I was arrested all the time, trust me, they were assholes. I went to jail all the time because I did the exact opposite of that. Told them to fuck off. I used to sit outside police stations playing songs, you know, like I thought I was really punk rock. Fuck you, cops, etc., etc. You know what happened? Getting arrested. Tell them to fuck off. Arrested. Delaying a peace officer. Second thing she always told me with the police is, if you fuck with them, be prepared to lose that fight. No matter what, there is no possible way in any history of the Praetorian Guard, basically the cops, that if you fight or disagree or resist these police officers, that you will win. No way in hell, son. No way in hell. You fuck with these people have the absolute and 100% right to fuck your shit up and take you downtown. No questions asked. You get those little silver little bands on your wrists, trust me. And everybody likes to talk tough. I hear from everybody, fuck the police. I don't even give a fuck about this. Man, come folks with me. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's great. When is the last time you were cuffed and thrown in the back of a police car violently? I'll wait. Go ahead. Come on. Give it up. When's the last time? Especially the loudest mouths ones, the ones who talk the most shit. That shit never happened to them. Because once you get the little click, click, right? And then thrown into the back and then taken downtown, and then you got to eat jail food till you see the judge. If you've never been on that side of the law before, then you need to shut the fuck up. Because those of us who have been on the other side of the law, I'm not saying I'm a bad man, but yes, I have been an outlaw from time to time in my past. I don't want to hear shit. If you've ever been sent downtown I'm not talking about overnight. I'm talking about processed. Okay. That's multiple days in jail. Okay. You get a phone call. Doesn't mean you're going to get out because you got to see a judge first. They got to either release you on your own reconnaissance or then you start making some legal decisions after that. If you've never been in the nice, good old silver cups, thrown into a back of a police car before, roughed up a little bit, okay, been processed in a jail, sent in a van to go to one of their local holding facilities, etc., etc., I don't want to hear a goddamn fucking thing from you, all right? If you've never eaten jail food, if you've never had a drink out of a really, really nasty ass fucking faucet that barely works just to get water, right? And there's like stuff in there that you don't want to know about. It's nasty. You don't want to put your lips anywhere. You know, you're like, yeah, you know, it's like fucking, I don't want to hear anything from you. You don't know what you're talking about. Shut the fuck up. Conversely, you have been on the side of this kind of thing. You know how unfair it is. And I guarantee anyone who's been on the other side of that and has made it through and is now safe in a holding cell, etc., etc., moving to a different holding cell. You know, you regretted it the moment you heard the clank of the bars. I shouldn't even laugh about this because I can't think of any worse place to be than jail. I I can't think of any worse place to be. Not one place. Um, Maybe Disneyland. I would rather be at the DMV. I would rather be at a Blink 182 concert. I would rather be shopping at the Gap behind my wife who doesn't like me. You know, watching her like pick out different things. I would rather listen to someone stupider than me tell me about a subject I know very well. I would rather be jumped by 4 guys on a totally public street, had to fight my way out of it, bloodied and bruised, and still get away to be able to come home and drink red wine and watch movies on Netflix than ever be in fucking jail. It's horrible. It's a bad place to be. My point is that there are consequences to these actions. When people start talking about abolishing the police, what they're basically telling good old-fashioned normal criminals, I'm not talking about violent criminals, just good old-fashioned, just malicious, corrupted, strange individuals who are disenfranchised by our system at play, to go in and run ruckus over anything that gets in their way. So there are consequences, unfortunately, to this. You go into a Dwayne Reed or a Walgreens or a CVS and your lotion is locked down. Your lotion's in jail. It's all over the media. I know we all live in our own bubbles and stuff like that. Fine. But just do me a favor. Go online and look how much looting and robberies and nonviolent crimes have gone up in the last 3 to 4 years ever since COVID. Well, COVID's over now, guys. COVID's over now. It's finished. Okay. The world's trying to get back to normal again. But you know what didn't get back to normal again? People's common sense. Hello. Now, you might actually have property that you want protected. You might actually want to feel safe walking down the street. You might not want to have to wait 47 minutes after you've been robbed for one cop car to come and ask you questions about what the person looked like. All right. Especially if you live in a major city like me in Brooklyn and New York. Now, I'm not that worried for myself. Okay. I can take care of myself. If someone fucks with me, as I said, I have ways and means that I can respond. I'm worried about the people who don't have that kind of strength or backbone or what have you. Where is their protection? So let's abolish the police. All right. So the whole police force is systemically racist and everything is really bad. They're all criminals and they're all secretly hating every person of color, even though most cops I know are persons of color. Basically, the only people I hear bitching the most about abolishing the police are overprivileged, middle class to upper class educated white people. Shut the fuck up. You're ruining it for everybody. You already have lawyers. Okay. You have the power structure at your disposal. What about the old lady around the corner? She doesn't have that. She's on disability. What's going to happen to her? Should we abolish the police now, guys? She can't even get her fucking lotion for her eczema. What about that lady? Now she's got to go take an extra step out of her day, press a little button. The attendant doesn't give a shit. It's got to come over, emancipate the lotion from its chambers of horror. This is my point. In the law and order argument, the moment you abolish the police or diminish a police presence and take away funding from the police officers so they have enough manpower to be able to help the more weaker of our society, then you're going to have more of this and you're going to see more of this. And you just wait. You just wait for this summer. This summer is going to be a disaster. Good weather. Everybody's pissed off about the upcoming elections. All right. You're going to see people losing their fucking minds. You're going to see looting going crazy. You're going to see robbery going crazy. You're going to see nonviolent and violent crime increase. I'm not happy about it. Heed my words. That's point number 1. Okay, point number 2. Personal story. I told you guys I used to be quite the rebel. I was a real son of a bitch, okay? I rebelled just like any angry young man, punk rock this and angry this. I'm still that guy. I'm punk rock right now making this goddamn video right now. I go against the grain. Used to hate cops. Got to admit, never met a cop in my life. but I hated him. And this was before I was even arrested and all this stuff, when I actually had reason to get pissed off at him for throwing me in the back of a car. Yes, it happens to whiteys too. There came a time when I eventually wanted to sort of change up my whole vibe. But I was going back to school. I was getting educated again. I really wanted to apply myself to education and learning things. So I went to the local community college, because at that time in California, it was actually quite cheap. $12 a unit, no less. $12 a unit. And each class was actually 3 units. This is before Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is back in the days in the 90s. You can actually get an education a person could actually afford. Yeah, think about that. $36 per class. Yeah, try that on for size these days. I was rounding out most of my stuff around English literature, art history, anthropology, comparative religion, stuff that was cool. That was, I wanted to be a professor and I really wanted to get into this kind of stuff. But they wouldn't let me take all of these courses. I had to take certain electives that were outside of my purview that I enjoyed. So I look at the options. I'm not seeing a lot. I'm not interested in ceramics. Don't really care about economics at the time, although I should have. Government, civics, I probably would have been into it now, but at that time I didn't care. I did see one that I thought, that'll be funny to take. Criminal justice. Intro to Criminal Justice 101. I thought this is going to be hilarious, just because of how many times I actually broke the law and how many times I just scoffed to the law. I thought this will be kind of a funny thing to do, just like a lark, whatever. I'll go check it out, see what's going on. Boy, was I wrong. This is what they call a road to Damascus moment. There's this guy named Saul. He's doing something for the Romans he shouldn't be doing, whatever. Maybe he's a disbeliever. I don't know. It's one of these things. We'll get into religious studies later. So he's on the road to Damascus, and then I think he falls off his horse, and his horse hits him in the head, and he has this conversion to Christianity, and now his name is Paul. So it's a Pauline conversion or a Pauline conversion. So yes, this was my road to Damascus moment when it came to criminal justice. Let me set the scene. Okay, huge auditorium. One of the larger auditoriums at my college at the time. In walks this very flamboyant, beige-suited, thin, tall man, sort of dyed blonde hair, kind of effeminate, but still tough. Walks in, throws a bunch of folders down, kind of starts pacing back and forth, and he just starts exclaiming, "Do you enjoy sidewalks? Do you like those little tickers in the middle of a highway? Do you enjoy those things? When you're driving around, you don't want anybody to drive up on the sidewalk or maybe go to the other side of the road and just run into your car. Do you guys enjoy that? Well, if you do, then you like the law. I'm sold. Okay, I don't want anyone driving up on a sidewalk and running me over. That's good. I like that. Yeah. I don't want when I'm driving down the highway to someone else come across little tickers, smash into my car, kill me and my family. Yeah, I don't like that. Okay, all right, you got me, buddy. You got me. And he kept giving these little examples. Do you think? And he started calling on people. It's like, you sir, you sir over there. Do you want someone to go in your home and take your computer out of your house? And the guy's like, no. He's like, good. So you like the law? And he's like, okay, I guess I do. He's like, and miss, do you enjoy, do you want a random man to walk up to you and just punch you in the face? Would you like that? Is that okay? She's like, well, I'd fight him, The whole class laughs, right? Of course. He's like, no, that's fine. Yeah, but what if he was a boxer and he was really skilled at fighting? Do you want him? Is it okay if he just sort of bam, just breaks your nose right there? You're walking down the street. She's like, no, of course not. He's like, so you like the law? Now, every kid in this auditorium was probably taking the class for the exact same reason, except for probably people who actually wanted to go into criminal justice. But by then we're hooked. We love this guy. This guy's hilarious. And he's pacing back and forth and he's sort of funny and he's always brushing his hair. And he's, as I said, he's kind of effeminate. He's very well put together and he has a little bit of affectation to his voice, but we find out and he starts explaining about who he is and what he did. And apparently he was an ex-FBI agent. He chased criminals across state lines. He chased murderers, bank robbers, major criminals. And he explained about what he did. And he said, I have devoted my entire life to the law. I have openly and determinedly made my life for the law and to study the law. And now I'm here to teach you guys. about the law. We all were, I think somebody started clapping and I clapped along. I was just like, this is just amazing. This is awesome. This dude should be on TV. Turned out later that he actually was on TV. He was a consultant for a lot of these FBI shows that started coming out in the 90s. He also drove like one of those little Mazda Miatas, you know, those little red Mazda Miatas, little convertibles, the little guys, you know, with 2-seaters. You know, some of us in the class would watch him after he left the class, and he'd throw his briefcase in and hop in like it was a TV show, just drive off. You know, we just all thought that was just absolutely hilarious and charming. But this is when I was converted. Instead of looking at the law as some oppressive force, this professor put it in our minds that law wasn't some kind of oppressive force that was coming down to control the freedom of the individual. His idea, and what the law really means, is that the law is there to protect the individual to be more individualistic. You could use the law to live how you want to live. Now, of course, there are certain rules you can't break, like murder and robbery and violent assault and rape and abuse. The list goes on and on and on, all the way down to your goddamn traffic laws. And that's what he was talking about the sidewalk and the tickers. It starts with these little tiny little things. And the more you start thinking in terms like that, instead of seeing the law as this kind of thing that's trying to slowly just suffocate you as a person and as an entity of itself, it actually is there to protect you so you can flourish and be free without having to resort to bestial means of control. That's what happens in no law anarchy land. Whoever's got the biggest gun wins. You don't got to be the smartest. You got to have the biggest gun. Whoever's got the biggest fist and the willingness to use it wins. That's the law of anarchy. People could just run you over and not even care. They can cross that little ticketed line on the freeway and just done. Finished. Your life is over. I understand already. I can already hear you legalese folks out there talking about how the law can sometimes be used inappropriately, and I agree with that. And that's why we have a judicial system that has to evaluate certain laws. That's why us as citizens vote and try to change laws and try to figure out what laws are going to work for who's living where and what have you. But the ideas I used to have when I was younger about fuck the law and fuck the police, yeah, as I said, try that out in real time and see what happens. Unless you're wily and crazy like me, and I'm not even the toughest, there's always someone tougher out there. They will take over what you have and what you've earned with no recourse, and you will have no one to complain to at all. And there you are, shivering and alone, doing whatever this scary anarchy dictator person who has more power than you tells you what to do. Do you want to live in a world like that? I don't. I have to give credit where credit is due to this very strange and effeminate professor driving a red Mazda Miata somewhere, and I hope he's driving it somewhere right now, maybe breaking the speed limit just a little bit. I want to thank him for changing my mind on why the law is and why it needs to be. And that's point 2. Point 3. Okay, you ready for this one, guys? This is kind of controversial. This topic. It shouldn't be controversial, all right? How to start. We're going to get into more of these conversations during these podcasts, all right? We are news, we are entertainment, we are media, we are culture. We're a combination of topics that people don't really talk about in their daily lives or not on the news every night. Sometimes we will get into a little bit of that. Sometimes we'll veer off. But this topic is very controversial nowadays because we've become a polarized nation. You're either in team this or team that, and never the twain shall meet. I've been often asked what team I subscribe to. Would you like to know? I'm team human, okay? I care about you and me and everybody around us. The human soul, I believe. If you watch some of these podcasts, you will know. I care about the human brain, I care about the human heart, I care about the human soul. But this topic, everybody picked a side on this one, even though most of them have never even taken a civics lesson in their life. And that's states versus federal rights. Ooh, do people get crazy about this topic? In case you don't know and you haven't been paying attention, most of the conservatives, the right-wing party, always says states' rights is more important than federal law. If you talk to your average Democrat or leftist person, they will say federal law is more important than states' rights. I'm no legal expert, but I'm going to try to take a large idea and put it in very simplistic terms. Sort of a Diabate translation, okay, of a large idea, and we'll put it into more simplistic terms so we all can get along and understand things. As you know, federal law just means it's the law of the land, all right? Federal government makes a rule, they say across the board. States make a rule, it's only for their specific state. You are now currently going through this with the abortion debate, the pro-life, pro-choice states' rights versus federal law argument, which we will not go into in this podcast at all. But let's keep things on a more simpler note. And I'm going to give an example where both the right is off, in my opinion, and where the left is off, in my opinion. Where do we start first? All right, let's start with owning the Republicans, because I know a lot of my friends and a lot of you out there probably like traditional leftists. You know, you guys love hating on the right, so let's fuck with them really quick. Let's do that. All right, so the average person on the right would say, hey, states' rights before federal rights. Okay, but don't you think that the right would absolutely and totally adore capital punishment being legal in every state possible? Wouldn't you think that? They would love it, because that's their jam. I mean, they believe in capital punishment. Whether you believe in capital punishment or not, that's up to you. That's fine. That's your decision as a person. However, most of the right-wing portion of, you know, the government, or at least the government idea, the conservative idea, would be, let's legalize capital punishment across the board. You murder kids, you get killed. You molest kids, you get killed. You rape women and kill people, you get killed. That's the way it's going to be. Well, guess what? They're going to have that legal in every state, which would be a federal mandate across the board. So yes, they too would love a federal government idea of keeping everything equal across all states so you can have one united nation. Conversely, let's argue something about the left. Most of the left and most Democrats that I know of, they want weed legal everywhere, but they can't, because it is a federal law. That's actually part of the federal law, that marijuana still is classified as an illegal drug. So what did the Democrats and the leftists do to try to pass some of these ideas to get it legal in certain states? They went states' rights. They started applying in each individual state according to the laws of that individual state's rights to get each side of the marijuana law passed, and now finally recreational use is available, I don't know, in a couple states, plus medical marijuana, which is in most states. It's just funny how each side sort of kind of hates on the idea of each other's side, yet uses the same legal system as a way of passing what they want through the system. Let's go to another different argument. Totally just ignore right now like sides and political parties and stuff like that. Let's think speed limit laws. Should they be regulated completely through every state? Should highways be regulated through every state the same? If you're on a highway in upstate New York, for instance, right, where there's a lot of trees and hills and stuff like that, that should have the same speed limit as perhaps a highway in Arizona, where there's nothing as far as the eye can see, no towns at all, or through Texas for that matter? Should each state have exactly the same laws across the board? And we're dealing with one of the largest countries other than Russia. I mean, we're talking landmass that is huge. It is easy to regulate things in France. France is the size of Texas. It is easy to have laws in Sweden. Sweden is not even the size of New England. America is huge. So to have one giant law for every state is kind of crazy. I mean, how much hunting do you do in New York City other than for bargains? No, but how much hunting do you really do in New York City? Okay, well, imagine that you live in Wyoming and you hunt your own meat and you eat it. You think those two laws of guns should be the same? I don't think so. Let's talk about pollution regulation. How much pollution do you think New York City puts out just with all its factories and things that are going on here? All the CO2 emissions into the air, all the cars, all the 9 million people driving around, everybody's nuts, and all the different things going on. How much is that compared to North Dakota? Should there be same regulations there? We have become a binary system between these two ideas where we're so in bed with one side that we can never get in bed with the other side. What we're lacking is using our heads and using common sense and saying some of it applies over here and some of it doesn't apply over here. So let's try to use our heads together and think states versus federal rights. Okay, murder. Can we all agree on that? Across the board, illegal. Robbery, illegal. Rape, illegal. Assault and battery, illegal. And all the way down the line. But when it comes to the nitty gritty stuff, depends on where you live. And that's the beauty of our United States. We're not very united now, but that is the beauty of these United States is that each state has its own particular personality and should regulate itself from the members of those people of that state. And if you don't like that state, thank God we still have a free market capitalistic system. So if you have a situation that you don't like in your state and you are so insulted by the world around you, fucking move. Okay, this is what it is. You can't do this in any other country. You can't do this in Ecuador. I mean, maybe you can. I don't know. I've never been to Ecuador. I want to specifically throw Ecuador under the bus. But I know you can't do it in France. I know you can't do it in Germany. It's all pretty much a homogeneous culture. It's the same culture. Certainly can't do it in Iran, I'll tell you that much. But in the States, if you get your shit together, you got a family, and you have certain things, you make certain decisions to change your life, you can do it if you want to. And until this world, our civilization as we know it as Americans, start changing and start clamping down on our initial freedoms that are in the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, while we still have those things that make us unique from every other country in the world, before that starts getting removed from us, before we become China, before we become the Soviet Union, before we become Saudi Arabia, before we become any of these other countries that are so wildly different and believe in so many other wild ideas that us Americans do not agree with, we are still a free nation. And it's up to you how this nation proceeds. We are a nation of laws. Always have been, always will. That's why every politician's a lawyer. If you don't know these things, you're going to be swept underneath. So until the Bill of Rights and the Constitution are completely destroyed, dismantled, and crumbled up and thrown into the ash bin of history, we still have a shot at this thing. Let's get to the Creep of the Week. As I've said before, Creep of the Week doesn't have to be a person, place, or thing. It can be an idea. I'm going to bring up something a local restaurant owner told me the other day. His business has been vandalized and he has had his windows broken. He has had personal assaults in his establishment that he pays rent on. He has barely gotten any kind of backup from local law enforcement. He's even told me personal stories that someone actually came into his bar, sat down, ordered a drink, and when they wouldn't pay, he confronted him on it, and the guy actually slapped him and pushed him. I know another guy around the corner from my house here. Great guy, been here over 40 years. From Yemen, grew up in the mountains raising goats, no electricity, moved to New York City, brought his entire family here. Guy keeps a pistol underneath his shelf. During the summer of love, I saw this whole town boarded up out of fear of the roving mobs. There's something called Teen Takeover that's organized through the internet, on social media, TikToks and the Facebooks and the Instagrams and the Twitters. Teen Takeovers just happened in Chicago. Look it up. Teen Takeover Chicago. People got beaten. What sort of incentive do people have to actually build anything in places that this kind of activity is allowed to exist? What sort of incentive is it that property taxes and taxes on pretty much everything has gone up so high that you can't even start your own business? Even if you wanted to, you're going to end up losing money. And by the end of it, the government will control and seize your property and business anyways. What kind of world do you live in? And people won't even keep a job because it's cheaper to go on unemployment. I talked to some of these business owners and they've told me some very scary stories. They can't keep good workers because there are none. They can't keep people here in New York City because it's too expensive. The police have practically given up on defending the average man or woman in the average business from mob rule. And this is just the beginning. Why would anyone want to start anything or invest in anything? Look at the average business in New York City right now. It's definitely corporate. Now, again, I'm not 100% against corporations either, but New York City used to have a lot of mom and pop businesses, used to have a lot of underground businesses, a lot of live show spots, a lot of independent record shops, coffee shops, local music stores. Where'd they all go? They can't afford it. And even if they could afford it, why would they? They have no protection from the police force. What's the point? I have never seen more nihilism in my entire life. This is including the 90s when everybody was dying of heroin. I've never seen this much nihilism in my life. The motto, get mine before the whole shit house goes up in flames, as old Jim Morrison once said, couldn't be more true than now. Now, you guys know me. I'm not all doom and gloom all the time. But when I look around and I see this kind of nihilism, roving bands of teenagers just smashing shit for no apparent reason, horrible graffiti artists just spitting all over the walls. I mean, if you were a good artist, then cool. Like, please, we want you to do good shit. But your art sucks. You're not a graffiti artist. You're a tagger, which is the lowest common denominator other than house DJ for Times Square nightclub. Education's gone down the tubes. Teachers are being paid pennies. Intellectuals and smart people who care like me are never going to go into the whole profession. It is a dark and scary time in these United States. I think the creep of the week, to be honest, is nihilism, emptiness, and nothing proved this more than COVID. Everyone was locked down. People lost everything. They lost their businesses. I had my own business. I had my own thriving tour business. I'm a licensed tour guide in the city of New York City. You got to go to City Hall and take a test and actually get a tour guide license. I had my own business. Destroyed. I was working for one of the coolest cocktail bars in the West Village, in Greenwich Village, right here in New York City. Closed down permanently. Nihilism, emptiness, the solitude. COVID taught us this. We can't rely on anyone but ourselves and each other. Yeah, is this creep of the week a bit of a downer? You're damn right it is. It's the creepiest of the creeps. Because once that nihilism gets here and gets here and gets here, there is no life any longer. Then you're like what some people on the internet have called a moist robot, going through the motions like a machine, just with more liquid in it. Nihilism, emptiness. That's the creep of the week. Once you let that seep into your mind, it's over. That's all I had to say about that. Solutions? I don't know. I don't know if there is one. I guess that's up to us to figure it out. All right. Well, that was positive, right? That was a lot of fun. In a total opposite direction, the talkback section has been fantastic. We have gotten so many compliments, so many people saying they find what we do here hilarious. I am so pleased by this. There are so many different things that we have coming in the future. We've got the stay in school kid programs. That already sounds like it worked for PBS. We've got the CINEPHILIA section. Oh man, you guys are gonna love the first movie we picked. Oh, it's gonna be so much fun. As I said, I could pick any movie I want. It'll be Creep of the Week and then CINEPHILIA. Oh, I want to tell you guys so bad what it is, the next movie I'm picking. Oh, it's one of my favorites. I love highbrow and lowbrow films. So CINEPHILIA, it's going to be great. It's a great little portion. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. This is the Law and Order episode. Woof, we got deep in this one. We got deep in this one. We don't pull any punches here, Kill the Cat Radio. Never have. That's why it is Sharp Teeth. We ain't playing no games around here. But we do want to thank you for tuning in once again to episode 14 of Sharp Teeth. You can follow us on all the normal social medias under @KillTheCatRadio. Please become a subscriber. Hit the little button below. Talk back at us. Leave a comment. Whatever you're feeling, let us know. Spread the word to your friends. Come on back next week. We are Kill the Cat Radio. This is Sharp Teeth. My name is Matthew Diabate, and we are signing off.